So now we're going to talk about hospitality, and I want you to go away tonight with, even though we're going to really shorten this, with some key principles on obstacles that women have, and what is hospitality. What are some tips that we could incorporate right away to make this doable, and then like who to have over. So we'll just cover a few things. Is that good with everybody? Okay. So what is hospitality? Hospitality is being friendly and generous, a reception or receiving of friends, and entertaining guests. That's one way. Don't write down all these wordy things. Okay? It's cheerfully sharing food, possessions, your finances, your time, talent, skill set with others. Hospitality is more than just opening your home. It is a mindset of having a generous eye. Proverbs 22:9. What does generous eye even mean? Generous eye is, he that hath a generous eye will be blessed, for he gives food to the poor. Now, that is an amazing verse. What that is saying is a generous eye means that we are looking through the lens, a different lens, one that's not about self. We are looking through a lens that God allows us to have and enables us to have with the desire to give. Generous eye. With the desire to meet needs. With the desire to be used by God to help others. We're not holding anything so tightly that we don't share. A generous eye is what I want y'all to understand about hospitality. It's everything being used for God, and cheerfully with who God puts in your life and puts on your heart. It's as you go. Each of y'all have different lives, different paths, different age kids, different walks of life. You are called to have that generous eye in your daily walk. And I am in mine. And nobody else but you can have that in your path. Right? Our heart should say, Lord, all of my possessions are yours. Show me how to use my money, my time, the skills that you've given me for you and for others. So why don't we have people in our homes? So just call out the things. And you're not talking about yourself, you're talking about a friend. Call out obstacles of your friends, of why they don't have people in their home. Live too far? Okay.
Cleanliness.
Okay. So you feel like your home's cluttered, not clean. What else? Okay, the kids aren't well behaved.
Too small, you don't have space for each person to have a seat.
Okay, logistics. It's too small. What about you want to have a family over or a friend over, but their place in your mind is here, and you are here. You made that up in your mind, right? We've had people tell us that before. That we've had friends to come into our home, and then I'd see the husband at church, and he'd go, "We really want to have you over, but my wife thinks our house is too small." What a tragedy. What a sad way of thinking, but is very common. You know, when it comes down to it, guess what? Everybody hangs out in one room. Why does it matter how many rooms you have? And who is the focus on when you do this? Who? Self. If you're married, those kind of things can make your spouse feel bad. Like you're not content. You're not grateful. We don't want to be like that. God has given you the space you have to share. Now, why else? Stressful? I don't know how to cook well. What else? Gluten allergies. Let me just tell you, this is getting real, people. We got gluten-free and we got dairy-free, and that does add pressure. It does. But there's ways, if you have a heart to share, then there's remedies to fix these things. Like, can you bring your own food, please? I'll provide the silverware. Okay, what else? Good one. So what kind of expectations?
I guess, I don't know if that would help, but just imaging what we think we should look like.
Okay, so we put too much pressure on ourselves to perfection.
Plays a part of that.
Okay, so expectations is what she said. True.
Read an article one time that said women spend a lot more time in our society preparing their home than they do serving people in it.
Ooh, can I have that quote, please? That would be nice right here. She said women spend more time
It's true.
preparing their home
Right.
than they do serving the people in their home. Yes, wow, that's a real,
You know, make it look nice,
Right.
and they don't want anybody to mess it up.
right. Okay, you can see that each of these thoughts are definitely common, but they all boil down to self. And we got to get over ourselves. And if God's putting somebody on your mind, have into your home. And that means that all of a sudden, like this person comes to mind, or you envision them sitting at your table, or you're writing, who do I want to have over this year? And you have their name down. Do it. And every obstacle that comes in your mind, think, nope, that's about me. Put it off. Lord, I want this to be about you. I want this to be a blessing to the other person. And you just keep doing that. The beautiful thing is, as you're working through that and getting better at that, and spilling that over into the shaping of your children's minds, you are creating children who are hospitable more easily. That's a great thing, right? Don't you think? So, ways to be hospitable are numerous, but do it according to the level of stress that you can handle, all right? So, for example, if your expectation is the Martha Stewart table setting, and you're like, I don't even know how to buy that stuff, and I don't know how to put it together, then ask them to come over for pizza on paper plates, because that's what you can handle. Stop trying to be somebody else. Be you to the point that, do as much as you want to do and can do without it making you a mad woman. Now, I say that, but here's something else that's really important in hospitality. We have got to recognize when we have people coming in our home, we do not want the tone set in preparation for it to be yelling and screaming and being angry at our family. Because our level of expectation is this, and we can't get to that without yelling and being mad and having self-control, so you're going to have to change some things. You're going to have to include your children and train them ahead and say, okay, kids, you're teaching them the whole mindset, okay? Get this, the whole mindset. Kids, we're going to have over this family next Friday night, and we have a chance to make this be relaxing and a blessing for them. See the difference? Instead of you getting everything polished, who does that? And the table setting perfect, and being mad at the kids because the windows need to be cleaned and imperfect, the vacuum cleaner lines, get a Roomba. They're very nice to have. But instead of that being the focus, when you say this is about an opportunity to be a blessing, to lighten their load, to make it relaxing for them, to hear their stories, to learn more about them, that's the goal of hospitality, right? So all the stuff that's being done in preparation for it, they are important, but not at the expense that your children hate having people come over because of what the mom or what the person went through or the dad went through to be able to entertain. They're getting the wrong message. They're getting the message whether you say it to them or not. They're getting the message, mom wants to look good for these people. Or dad does. And that's something we can change. We have control over that by changing our focus. Hospitality is an opportunity to bless and to serve. It is in no way for people to think highly of you. And if that's what your message or your thought has been over it, I mean, just be honest with yourself, or catch yourself when you're preparing for the next person. Catch yourself thinking those thoughts and think, wait, no, that's not the goal. The goal is them. The goal is the other person. Now, that being said, we do want orderly homes. Not perfection, but we want it to be a place that's clutter-free, at least in the area that we'll be in, to the best that we can do, right? But not perfect, but a place for people to sit and a place to make them feel at home, okay? So make the food and all that kind of stuff be to the degree that you are able to handle that particular time, okay? If it's just, you want to come over for coffee? I know I invited you for dinner, but I don't have it in me. Be real with them. Come over for coffee, and can you bring it? Can I give you my Starbucks order? And then say, I just can't handle it right now. All right. Yep. All right. Okay, there's a lot of stuff I can say, and I'm not going to tonight, but it's really important, of opportunities that abound when you have friends over, especially in teaching your children. You're teaching them to be the last if you're doing a buffet line, be the last in case we don't have enough food, or be the last to show respect to the people. I mean, take only what you'll eat, you know. When you see somebody's glass getting half full, not half empty. See what I did there? I always wondered how I would say that. But you get up and refill their drinks without bringing any attention to you, okay? And instead of saying, do you want a refill? Say, are you drinking water or lemonade? What may I get you to drink? Would you like ice with that? You teach them ways to say things to get response. There's a lot of wonderful training in teaching kids through having people in your home. Okay, so who should we have over? Well, basically anybody that God puts on your heart to have over. But don't limit it to just your close friends or people that you would like to get to know better. Those are important. But hospitality goes beyond that. Think about the person who's having a rough time. You're sitting in church and you hear of somebody having a hard time. If the thought pops in your mind, wow, I should have them over, do it. Don't think, but I'm not prepared, but our home's not big enough, but I don't know what to say to them. They're going through something I don't know how to handle. I don't know how to relate to. No, be obedient and love, just love. Now, this is an interesting thing that I heard years ago, and we did it in our home, and I'm so glad. You know, the Hamricks? The Hamricks told us that they're dear friends of ours, and she's more hospitable than anybody I know, but she told us that they were strategic in people that they had in their home, because they had many people, but they were strategic in one particular area, and that is people they wanted to shape the minds of their children. And let me tell you what that means. When I heard that, we began to offer our home, not just mealtime, but our home for missionaries staying in town. And intentionally, we would sit in this very room with my kids here, to say, what was that like? Can you tell us about that? How did you end up on the mission field? What's your hardest situation you've had? How have you seen God work? Why? Intentionally planting in the lives and minds of my children and me. And we would have people for dinner like that. People that I wanted stories to be shared that had heart impact. Vision casting for our kids. And I've seen, real quick, my son was part of this thing, when I'm doing this, the missionaries. We had 7 men stay here one time for a missionary conference. And the kids knew, they gave up their beds, their bedrooms. They had already, that wasn't a big deal because they were brought up. It's not about you. It is the door. Just kidding, that did not really happen. But they really did easily give up their things to have people stay there. Well, one of the men was in India, and a missionary in India, and I just remember it really impacting our family. And years later, my son was in the MBA program and needed to do MBA, internship, but he also really wanted to do a mission trip. And so he asked if it's possible for it to be combined. And they let him combine the two and go to India. And while he was there, staying at a missionary's house, they had different missionaries come and pass through. Well, this man came in, you know where this is going, but this man came in and ate dinner with them, and my son, the guy said, "You look really, really familiar." And he asked my son this, and so they're talking, and he goes, "Well, from Jacksonville, Florida." A conference there one time. "Is your name Hamrick?" And he goes, "No, I don't remember how it happened." Anyway, the man said, "You're Ellis. We stayed in your home." So here is my son in India, and the story is so much longer and deeper and sweeter than that, but my son was able to tell him, "You are the reason I'm here, because years ago you sat in my den and you told me about motorcycles and riding through different territories as a missionary, and I saw your love for God and of people, and it inspired me to do that." He was able to encourage that man all the way in India. I have goosebumps about it. So use your home. You don't have to be married or have children to do this. I remember Mel and Hannah, some single ladies, like in their early mid-20s, they would ask older ladies to come over from their church, and they'd have them over for Sunday lunch. What? Can we teach our kids that they can be a blessing to their pastor when they're at college? That they can offer to fix something and mow the yard of somebody that they meet when they're away at college? Yes, because we are shaping the generous eye. They're looking and seeing needs around them and being hospitable with everything, with their time, their possessions, and all. So I mentioned some ideas of who we should have over. And again, it includes people that you want to get to know better, people that you want to encourage, people that don't know Christ yet, who you might not specifically share the gospel with them right then, but you want a relationship where they feel safe and loved and they're seeing Christ in action. So those are just some of the people, but basically anybody that you think of. And ways to do this, I mentioned to you, decide what you can handle. And if it changes before the event happens, it's okay. It's okay. Ask, say, "Hey, it's going to be changed to potluck. Bring what you want." Or just be real with people, because they want to get to know you and you them, right? You can make it as informal as you want. Just anything that's causing you stress thinking about it, let it go. All right? Involve your kids. We used to do a spiral notebook that had all the things I could think of that we needed to do. We did do a lot of things to prepare. okay? But the kids didn't see us being frenzied. They saw at even pace. Here's all the things. It could even be more than a page of things. And we had bullet points, and what they were taught to do is it either had their initial next to it and they checked it off, or it had nobody's initial and they just went and did whatever they wanted on the list until it was done, or until the party showed up and nobody yelled. Most of the time. Because you can tell when you go into somebody's house and it's tense. Is that fun? No. All right. And then, so make it happen. Here's how you make it happen. Is you determine the level of stress you can have, and you make it fit it, but envision the thing that Linda talked about. Envision where the conversations will take place. Let that be the goal, is making that be relaxing. All right. Think about the tone. A good book, Emily Barnes' Welcome Home, is one of the earliest books that I read when I was wanting to learn about making my house a home and making it comfortable and warm and inviting. So there's good stuff on that. And here's a few tips to make it easier. Although this could be a whole lesson, right? Y'all get that? Just to give an overview. Have some staples on hand. That means, I don't mean a stapler. Although you could, if you have a rambunctious child, you go, it might not be a bad idea. Just kidding. But have staples on hand like you've already seen, because I do the same stuff. But brownie mix for us, cookie dough, a ham and cheese ball is stuff, a fruit salad. The salad that you have here, we have those things on hand. Have things on hand that you just keep as staples so you can take out at the last minute and do. Have a few recipes that are your go-tos that don't cause you stress. If you're trying to do new recipes when you have company, that's awesome, unless it stresses you out. And if it does, then your focus is all on being stressed. Do the recipe before the next time somebody comes over, so it's easier the next time. Okay? So staple items, you determine what they are. The never run out of items. By the way, toilet paper should be on that list. That really would be inconvenient if you're like, sorry, we don't have toilet paper. May I interest you in a bounty? The quicker picker-upper. Okay.
Just don't flush.
Yeah, and if you'll put it in the, okay. And then another quick way to do things is ask your kids, ask your parents, ask your family members, or even the people you have over. But start with asking your family members their favorite meals, and get really good at that, and teach your kids, have them in the kitchen teaching them how to do it too, because on that to-do list can be, you make this, you do that, you do that. Heather, at a very young age, she'd have to stand in a chair. She would cut onions and carrots and all that at a young age because they were taught to do it. Teach them how to make these things. Okay, so I think that we're good there. Did I talk about the main things? Let's see, out of my 87 pages of notes here, I wanted to make sure I mentioned where is it? Well, I lost my first page. Oh, here it is right here. Okay, so I wanted to make sure I talked about what hospitality is and the purpose of being hospitable. You got that, right? It's others. In what ways we can show hospitality. We touched on that. And what are reasons people do not show it? Yes. And who should we have over, and an overall kind of game plan to make it happen. Your stress level, including the kids in it, and really just making it inviting and warm and welcoming for them. Food is kind of secondary, right? It is important, but worst case, if you burn something, don't freak out. If you burn something, like make a joke when your company gets there and say, How about pizza? Do you mind paying? Just kidding. So I hope that you'll think of your home, your car, your possessions, money, time, talent. We really focused on the home tonight, but this applies, this generous eye, where we are intentional to view the world as God, how do you want to use me with the things you've given me to bless other people? And that's really what hospitality is about. And God's called us all to be that way, to have that viewpoint in life. And He will help us. If He puts something on our heart, if He puts someone on your mind right now, He will help you with the skills as you just move forward and trust Him. Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this evening. Thank you for these ladies and their patience in the topics. And Lord, I pray that each one of us will just go to you and ask how you want us to be hospitable. What does that look like in our home with our personality, our family dynamics, the possessions, the money, time, resources that you have entrusted to us? Help us to give them back to you in big ways. If you call us to do something small, that we would be obedient. If you stretch us and ask us to do or give and put us out of our comfort zone, that we would still trust you and we would enjoy that process of walking with you and being a blessing to others. We love you, Jesus. Amen.